young, attractive, and living in suburbia. To neighbors, Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka looked like the kind of couple you'd see in a glossy magazine. Smiling, stylish, completely in love. But behind their carefully crafted image was a partnership built on control, obsession, and cruelty. And the truth they were hiding would become one of the most disturbing cases in Canadian criminal history. This is the Crim Vault, where we tell the darkest true crime stories from around the world. Subscribe now to follow this chilling 3-part series. We'll be dropping a new episode each week. Paul Bernardo grew up in Scarborough, a quiet suburb outside Toronto. To outsiders, he seemed like the ideal young man. Polite, clean-cut, charming. He did well in school, held part-time jobs, and had a smile that put people at ease. But his home life told a different story. His father had been arrested for indecent behavior. His parents' marriage was cold and hostile. And Paul, while outwardly composed, developed a deep hunger for power and perfection. He became obsessed with appearance and status. Friends described how Paul would rehearse conversations in front of mirrors. He hated being embarrassed. He needed to feel dominant, especially over women. That need would soon manifest in violence. Between 1987 and 1990, a wave of sexual assaults terrified women across the Scarborough area. The attacker struck near bus stops, quiet streets, and residential corners, always late at night, always targeting women walking alone. Each time he got away, police circulated a composite sketch. Tips came in, but no arrests were made. The press dubbed him the Scarborough Rapist. And all the while, Paul Bernardo was blending in. He worked as a junior accountant, he attended barbecues, he flirted at parties, and he dated younger women, all while living just minutes from where the attacks were happening. His behavior in relationships was disturbing. He demanded submission, degraded his partners, and talked openly about violent fantasies. But he was careful, always presenting himself as the golden boy in public. Then in 1987, Paul met Karla Homolka. She was just 17, blonde, energetic, and described by friends as fun and confident. She came from a middle-class family in St. Catharines and was working at a pet store. When she met Paul at a convention, she was instantly taken in. He was older, charming, magnetic. To Karla, he was everything she'd fantasized about. They began dating almost immediately. Within weeks, Karla was completely under his spell. But this wasn't just manipulation. Karla wasn't passive. When Paul shared his darkest thoughts about control, submission, and owning women, Karla didn't flinch. She encouraged him, supported him, and soon joined in. Psychologists would later describe their relationship as folie à deux, a shared madness. Together, they created an echo chamber of cruelty. Paul pushed the boundaries. Karla helped him cross them. It wasn't long before Paul fixated on someone new, someone close, someone Karla should have protected, her younger sister Tammy. Tammy Homolka was 15, bright, friendly, and trusting. She adored her older sister and had no reason to be afraid of Paul. But Paul had become obsessed. He talked about her constantly, comparing Karla to her. He even admitted he wished Tammy had been his first. What followed is almost beyond comprehension, not just because of what Paul did, but because of what Karla allowed. Karla had agreed to help him carry out a plan that crossed every imaginable line. She gave him access. She drugged her own sister. On the night of December 23rd, 1990, the Homolka family was getting ready for Christmas. The mood upstairs was festive, laughter, decorations, and holiday music. But downstairs, something far more calculated was unfolding. Karla had mixed strong sedatives meant for animals into a drink and offered it to her 15-year-old sister Tammy. Paul brought his video camera downstairs and the two undressed Tammy. He intended to record the night for reasons that would only become clear later. Evidence that, when finally uncovered, would shock the country. But then something went wrong. Tammy began to lose consciousness rapidly. She started choking. In a panic, Paul and Karla tried to clean up. They redressed her and moved her to her bedroom. When paramedics arrived, Karla calmly explained that her sister had been drinking and must have choked in her sleep. The official cause of death was ruled accidental. No one questioned the strange burn mark on Tammy's face, caused by a chemical used to subdue her. No one looked twice at Paul. No one suspected Karla. They had gotten away with it. Karla's parents were devastated. But Karla, just months later, she moved in with Paul and began planning their wedding. Paul, meanwhile, kept escalating. His charm remained intact. He got a sales job, bought a flashy gold Nissan. To the outside world, they looked like a young, successful couple. Behind closed doors, their home was becoming a private theater of control. They filmed themselves constantly, not just everyday moments, but scripted scenes, rehearsed lines, disturbing fantasies acted out with eerie calm. The footage would later become key evidence. By now, Paul was back on the police radar. In 1990, investigators interviewed him about the Scarborough assaults. He matched the composite sketch. He was smooth and cooperative, confident. But police took a DNA sample just in case. And then they waited. Due to a massive backlog at the lab, that sample sat untouched for over 2 years. If it had been tested on time, Paul would have been arrested. The story could have ended there, but it didn't. Instead, Paul and Karla began planning something else, something worse. In June 1991, 2 weeks before their wedding, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffy disappeared. She had missed curfew and been locked out of her house. Paul spotted her walking alone and offered help. He brought her back to the house he shared with Karla. What happened next was horrifying. Leslie was held captive overnight, during which time Paul and Karla recorded parts of what they did to her on video. The footage later became key evidence. According to court testimony, Leslie was blindfolded, restrained, raped, and subjected to repeated abuse, while Paul and Karla took turns controlling and degrading her. At times, they treated the situation like a game. In one moment described during the trial, they even paused to have breakfast, while Leslie remained trapped in the other room. She was taunted, manipulated, and stripped of her humanity. Her fear was real, and her pleas went ignored. And through it all, Paul kept recording. By the next day, Leslie was dead. The exact cause of her death has never been definitively confirmed, as Paul and Karla gave conflicting statements. Karla claimed Paul strangled her with an electrical cord. Paul claimed Karla administered a lethal dose of a sedative. What's certain is that they both played a role. After her death, they hid her body in their basement freezer, then later dismembered her and encased her remains in concrete blocks, which they dumped in a nearby lake. On June 29, 1991, 10 days later, the same day Paul and Karla were married, fishermen discovered the blocks in Lake Gibson, Ontario. A memorial service was held weeks later. Her death devastated the local community and shocked the nation. The brutality of what had been done to her shocked investigators, but they had no suspects, no leads, no idea that the smiling newlyweds celebrating in white lace just miles away were responsible. No one knew what they had done, and that's what made this case so haunting. It wasn't just the crimes, it was the lie, the performance, the mask. These weren't outcasts, they weren't isolated. Paul and Karla were liked, trusted. Their neighbors waved to them. Their families celebrated with them. And all the while, a teenager's body was resting at the bottom of a lake, her story silenced. But the mask wouldn't last forever. After their wedding, cracks began to show. Paul's temper grew worse. Karla became withdrawn. Police continued to pursue leads on the unsolved assaults. And in 1992, it happened again. Another girl vanished. This time her name was Kristen French. And this time, police got closer. In part 2, we reveal what happened to Kristen and how a hidden collection of home videos finally exposed everything Paul and Karla had done. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next episode of the Crim Vault.